All right, let's turn down that music and stop jamming and start doing a podcast. Hey, everybody, it is Tuesday night and we are on that first Tuesday of the year. So, welcome to the Dr. Boz Channel. We are going to review how to reboot. So, if you need the encouragement, stick around. Be sure to put in your questions because we are going to talk all about what it looks like to restart. And I'm going to give some great stories and examples about what I learned today and what happened in my first Tuesday of the year. So welcome everybody. I am going to start with a few traditions here on the show, and that is if you like data, and that's the word science has been thrown around quite a bit in 2021, but it's 2022 now. So I'm talking about the kind of science that you can measure. One of the staples of being an internal medicine physician is, well, if you've been to an internist, you know that we are obsessed with checking your labs. So I'm going to check my labs here with you watching. So those are blank. They're blinking, waiting for my finger to be pricked. And it is truly in the spirit of the internal medicine kind of way that I show you what my labs are, and I insist that if you are on the ketogenic diet, you need to prove it, which means you need to be measuring ketones. And you can join me with a meter, but you can also do the cheap way out and check your urine. I don't care. I just care that it's real life data. And today my blood sugar is 94, my glucose is 1.5. And I actually ended a fast last night and then had a small meal, but I'm fasting again, and probably if I'm good, I will not eat when I get home yet tonight. But on the show, I do try to, again, prove what my numbers are, talk about my journey. I'm a real live human being too that screws it up. So join me. This is Ketones-In-A-Can that I'm going to drink while I'm on the show. It's just another way to show you that the stuff that I like to use is measurable and should change your numbers. This is I'm coming to you live from my clinic, so the stir sticks are called tongue depressors, and I might have to add some more bubble water to that. All right, so let me welcome any of you that are here for the first time, and if you can tell me where you're from in the chat, I really do enjoy reading those as I go along. And then, as we've done in weeks past, we've really found a positive response for trying to answer questions for the last 20, maybe 30 minutes of the show. And the questions we answer are the ones that you post here in the chat. So that gives you some incentive to join us live. We've done other things during lives, like give away books and try to find some other incentives to really provide value of showing up for these lives. So this is one of my favorite ways to do this is I like bubbles in my water. And when I add bubbles in my water plus some ketones, it's all about peak brain performance. And if you've watched this show long enough, you know that there's enough buttons in front of me that I can screw this up and then you guys can't either hear me or I can't get to the next step. So before I do any of that, let's move on to a quick review of a couple of things. So not only tonight are we going to talk about some of the announcements I have to make, but I am going to do a book review and then do the announcements. And then we're going to get to a few things I want to talk about how do you restart and where did I get my intel from for today's show. All right, so let's click a button here and pray it does what I suppose. Yeah, here we go. So I want those of you that haven't been to the website to notice that there are a couple of things that we are doing in the next few weeks. And that is, I want to know in the chat, actually, let's I would love to hear this. Did you open the email that came from us in the last couple of days? So we don't do email very well. And I have been working diligently with my sister-in-law, Michelle, as we have taken on yet another skill that I'm trying to master. And I've actually asked myself, why do I find the need to do this myself? And I think it's because if you've ever hired a marketing team, what they have to do in order to help you is get inside your head, get inside your company, make sure that the messaging is exactly what you want to say. And I have just found that as soon as I figure out what the message is and what I'm saying, there's no reason I can't type it up and tell that to you. So Michelle and I have been working on a process that we find we've had lots of complaints about. And so we're trying to answer those complaints. And those complaints have been, wow, you have so much content. You have so much stuff on your channel. How do I find it all? And we have been guilty of that. We've spent the last year really cleaning up our playlist on the YouTube channel, trying to find little bites of information instead of the long list that I used to have on my channel for you. And we put all that work into the email or into the channel, but we haven't communicated it to you very well. So Michelle and I are reading how to get people to open an email. So maybe we're really screwing up our numbers now by asking you to check your email, and if you got the email, open it up. But if you didn't get the email, what we're looking to do is find a way to nurture the people that do enter into the world of Dr. Boz. What we do know is that when people come to our channel, and you're going to hear a little bit more about this later on in the show, that they come not usually as the first time they've tried keto, but after they've kind of messed it up or they've struggled and they need some clear guidance on how do you do this for real, like no fake news. How do you really get into a state of ketosis and get healthy? So we are doing our best to write email, and we are asking for your feedback to see, does anybody read it? Does anybody open it? And you do not have to worry about getting spammed, because that means you send a lot of emails. And right now we are just tenderly opening up our vulnerability and saying, all right, Michelle, we can do this. We can write an email that speaks to our people and gives them something valuable inside the email that they might want to open up the second one. So join us each week. We're trying to put those out on Monday or Tuesday, and we are trying to link them to some of the conversations that we're going to be having here on the show on Tuesdays, which is a place that if you're looking for support and you're looking for encouragement, this is where you find it for free. And I do answer questions on this channel on Tuesday nights. So let me go back to this other little side here and show you that this is the website that BozMD.com. And I accidentally clicked the window closed that I wanted to see you, and I don't know how to make it come open again. So when you go to BozMD.com, there should be a pop-up that comes up saying, do you want to hear stories from Dr. Boz? And if you're already on the email list, if you got the email, then you don't need to fill that out. But if you don't get emails from us and you'd like to hear some of the encouragement, some of how do you get to the free stuff on the channel, how do you find the resources, we are really trying to answer that complaint in an honest way. And I will just ask you to be a little grace-filled. Email copy is something that, well, we're both from small towns, and we really want this to be a folksy, conversational, how do we encourage people and how do we get them to the free stuff? Because that's what we would want if we were just starting. So looking at this website, I want to show you a few other things that I'm going to scroll down to and give you an update from my day. I had some really amazing things happen today, and one of them is that if you've been around the show, you know that in the late part of the year, I launched the Brains course for the second time, and part of that Brains course was to have live question and answers about the students that bought the course. And I just want to say to those students that have been showing up for week after week now, we have 1 week left of this, and today we spent 2.5 hours on the live answering their questions and really hearing about the struggles they have with how do they get their brain the healthiest. And I got so emotional at the end that it's truly the greatest honor to have somebody who's struggling with their mind, with their brain. And although I can't see them as a physician because they don't live in Florida, most of them don't anyway, I am truly grateful for them coming to the class, vulnerably asking the questions that they struggle with, and really allowing me to enter into their life and to answer those questions. And It was just a really awesome session today, so thanks for those who showed up. But if you ever want to see what the people thought of, I told them that I really do want them to write a review of the course, because when I'm having a down day and I wonder, gosh, I'm trying to do all these things, can I connect with the people that really are getting benefit? Does anybody get benefit from this? Those email complaints where you say, I can't find anything on your channel, and how can I get to these resources? I read those, and I really do want you to find these resources. So I said one of the things that I've done to remind myself that it is valuable is I've gone and read the reviews of the Brains course from before, or the Consistently Keto course. But specifically the Brains course is a very big passion project of mine. And as I have entered into a new chapter of life, living in Florida now for just over 6 months, and answering the call to really find a way to serve people through social media, through this channel here on YouTube, while also trying to balance opening a clinic, has been a tremendous task, one I have not accomplished yet. But it's been those students in the Brains course where I get to love on them. I get to share what God's gift has been to me, which is to really dive into neuroscience and dive into internal medicine and the data and the metrics that say, how do you die with the best brain possible, that you live your life the fullest right up till the day before you hop in that grave. And that's what we're about here on the channel. So I just want to say thank you for those that did that. The second thing that happened today was that today was a well, I'm going to save that news for the last. I do want to do, this is the other thing that we do on the opening minutes, which were a little longer than I usually like to be, but these opening minutes review the 2 books that I've written, which are Any Way You Can and KetoContinuum. So let me hop over to that page. And I've read these reviews, and I hope I can read them without crying, because a couple of them have been awesome. So again, I look at the most recent reviews, and for this book, Any Way You Can, the most recent review came in on December 26th. And I'll tell you, Carol Ann, I don't care that it's only a few words. I care that you took the time to go there and write this review. As an independent book author, this is how I get the news out. When we've been trying to understand, how do people get to our channel, what works, what do people want as far as connecting to a real tribe of people that are on the ketogenic diet, that really do use evidence-based medicine to help one another. These book reviews do a lot. So thank you for your very quick but powerful Love Dr. Boz. That's a great review. Let's move on to the other book that I wrote, which is the one that I just was looking at the book here as I was preparing for the show, and realized that it was 1 year ago that I put the book on pre-sale. I pushed publish on the book. I pushed publish on the book on January 1st, 2021. So this review is written on the last day of 2021. And I truly, I just need to read this out loud. So I read a quote that Albert Einstein said, "The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know." Well, I'm saying the same thing. Part 1 of this review was on Dr. Boz's first book, Any Way You Can. This is her second book, KetoContinuum, which I purchased in paperback and Audible. I have listened to it twice, and I am going through the book page by page. I am amazed with every page. The most difficulty I am having is unlearning all the fake news that I have been taught for the last 60 years. I started these great reads on October 12th, 2021. I purchased KetoContinuum course on October 17th and have faithfully been following Dr. Boz's teachings and suggestions, YouTube videos, Facebook, Neuron page, attend several, and started 2 Zoom support groups. The victory I'm feeling in my life is phenomenal. Today is the last day of 2021, and in just 2 months, I have gone from over 200 carbs a day to under 10. I have shed 25 pounds, my brain is no longer addicted, and my mind is clear. I have stable energy throughout the day, and I have been having a great time monitoring my numbers, good girl, every day to be proactive about my own health. I am believing, with God's help, that the lifestyle and chemistry changes I am making will eventually reverse my alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, which is like inherited emphysema. I was diagnosed in 1994. Presently, since having COVID in March, I wear supplemental oxygen at 5 liters, but I believe with all my heart I will heal as I continue this exciting journey. Thank you, and God bless you, Dr. Boz. I will have one more review to do on the Keto, Consistently Keto workbook, which I love, love, love. So first of all, I just need to say a very big thank you to Deborah, that having a medical issue that has haunted you for over 20 years, almost 20 years now, is it over almost 30 years now? And then to have COVID take away an even greater part of your lung capacity that you need oxygen. And knowing that my book did anything helpful, that it encouraged you on how to get some of the weight off, how to decrease the inflammation, and how to live your healthiest life. It makes me emotional to know that I can impact somebody with that who I've never met. And to me, that's the gift of something I think I waited far too long to figure out, which is the art of writing. And as we hack through these emails over the next few weeks, I'm sure I'll figure it out, but it is something that is new to my brain too. So the final reviews come from the Consistently Keto workbook, and this review might make me cry too. This is by Carol, and she goes, I have stage 4 lung cancer and stage 2 breast cancer. I ran across Dr. Boz's YouTube videos in July of 2021. I purchased this workbook as well as the book that goes with it. The guide has been invaluable to my keto journey. At my last oncology visit, my CT and MRI scans were the best they have ever been, as well as my lab results. My liver enzymes have never been normal since I was diagnosed with cancer. And as of today, I have lost 52 pounds with about 40 more pounds to lose. Thank you, Dr. Annette Bosworth, for loving us enough to share your knowledge and passion for this way of eating. I am forever grateful. Again, that is the greatest compliment, is writing these book reviews. It is something I truly want to I can't put it into words how much it means to me to read those reviews. Not only does it help the book awareness, when I look at some of the ways that people have come into the YouTube channel, one of the most common ways that people learn about me is somebody's bought them the book Any Way You Can and said, here, read this. Now, if you ask any marketer across the globe, they would say, well, that is a terrible marketing strategy. But it works, and it is, we pay for some ads on Google, but they don't do anything compared to what the voice of somebody who's had success, who's struggled with, stage 4 lung cancer and stage 2 breast cancer. We can take for granted what our health does, but as an internist, day in and day out, seeing people age way too quickly, lose the vigor of their life long before the grave was going to get them. It's awful. It's something that you can't possibly ignore when it happens to a loved one, and yet then all of us seem to push it away the longer that story isn't ours and isn't urgent in our own lives. So sharing your stories and sharing your success, and then I guess pass the book to anybody who you think could benefit from it, is truly the one marketing strategy that appears to be working on this channel. So thank you. But the second thing that I wanted to get to when I was scrolling through the website and said, I'll save that for a minute, is I wanted to share that today, on Tuesday from 8 to 9 here across the parking lot of where my office is, I had my first support group. Now I've been trying to start a support group here in Tampa for a while, but as of January 1st, I now have medical malpractice insurance, so I can host a support group. Now, you don't need malpractice insurance to host a group unless you're a physician, so you should not use that excuse, but I had to use that excuse. I did have one brief 5-week session that I recorded and shared what does it look like to start a support group. I did that in late November as a way for me selfishly, because I was so hungry for a support group and what it looks like to be in a group of people trying to improve their health. And as I look at today's topic about how do you reboot on the ketogenic diet, it's not an accident that this topic was selected for tonight, but it's also was the topic of everybody that showed up on how do we reset a bit better, how do we take where we're at and go to the next level. And we're going to review some of the key things about the stories that I got to hear this morning at this support group, because on the first support group, which again, the only place I've announced it is here on this show on Tuesday nights. And I said, yep, my office is here at 4809 North Armenia Avenue in Tampa. And there's a Pin Chasers, or a bowling alley, that's in the parking lot. And they have a room that nobody uses at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I spoke with the owner of the building and said, can I rent this room once a week? And he goes, well, how many people are going to be there? And I said, sir, I'm new to Tampa. I have no idea. When I got up this morning and got my son to school, I brought my daughter, who's adopted from China. I get a little nervous about calling her my daughter, but she really is. I'm her American mom, because she's from China and her mom is in China. And if my daughter was stuck in China, I would want somebody to continue to love on my daughter the way I love on Lindsay. And so she's been home with us over the holiday break. She goes to college here in Tampa. And so she came to the group with me. And I said, on the way we're driving over there, it might just be the two of us sitting there drinking a cup of coffee, because it's my first support group in a town where I still have very few contacts. And I don't know how many people will show up. But 15 people showed up, and they all had stories of their beginnings and where they're stuck. And we're going to talk about a few of those. I just want to say thank you for those that some drove an hour and a half to come to this free support group. And I think they're going to come back again next week, because I'm going to do a support group. I think support groups should be predictable and reliable. Hold on one second. We got to talk about several of the things in the support group that I can't talk about on a YouTube channel, but I can in a support group. And I think it was valuable enough that they are coming back. So if you are looking for a support group here in Tampa, this is free and you can come and answer some questions. It only lasts an hour, and then I have to buzz off to the next meeting, but it was, I was so thankful for those that showed up. So let's get into some of the questions that you guys ask me on this support group. And I want to go here, go to here, click off of that, go to, hold on here. Let's go here, let's go. Why can't I see it? Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so I am going to start with, I might not need this just yet, so it's ready if we do need it, and I guess that's as good as I'm going to get. Oh, I did that wrong. There we go. Okay, so if I look at a few things that I have my notes here in front of me about what it is that was on the beginning side of this keto continuum. And the first story that I'll talk about were some of the beginnings that I don't know where you're coming from, but as I mentioned earlier on this channel, we often are not the first place people come to when they're discovering keto. They usually do the channels that are much easier, that don't use data, that don't require you to prove you're in ketosis. But we are often the people where they land on our channel because I want this to be the last place they have to ever go and learn a process about how to eat correctly. And as I looked around the table this morning at the 15 people that showed up, and I noticed several of what they had struggled with and what they were looking for, this reboot for their keto paralleled several of the struggles I've had, but surely the struggles other patients have had over the years. And as I look at, I think it's easiest to talk about what my journey's been over the last few weeks and why do I need a reboot, just like everybody, is that the holidays were filled with 4 teenagers at home and a whirlwind of activities. Most of you know that I have a son that's still in high school, and he is a wrestler, so we had to make weight 2 days after Christmas. So there were treats, but they were not treats that anybody could eat until after he weighed in for wrestling, and then actually after he got home from the wrestling tournament. And I think like the whole country, although I did not get tested because that was at least 2 hours of waiting in line here in Tampa, I think I got the COVID crud that is the Omicron. And so I was ill down for probably 3 days, and I had lots of temptations around the house. So as I come back into the journey of saying, why do I do keto and why do I need this reboot? Number one, I was super excited to have this support group. That it may sound like a altruistic act of service that I have this free support group for people, but honestly, I get as much out of it as they do. Not only do I have to check in with them and I do my numbers for them and I answer questions and say, how long would I fast? I strategically place this on Tuesdays because I stop eating on Sundays and I like to get through Tuesday night without fasting. This week I started fasting on Saturday night, so I went Sunday and all through Monday for other reasons. But having that support group is accountability, and it's live. That many people have said, do you Zoom this? No, I want people to show up in person. I want them to share their life with me in a way that they can learn about their journey and I can learn about mine. So the first advice that I would put out there for anybody who's trying to reboot is we do try to be as generous as we can possibly be on this channel. So having a support group should be super easy for anybody who's tried to do it using the resources we offer. That when people buy that Consistently Keto online course, it's meant to give you little bitty videos that you can share with a support group and you can lead your family. If you're a keto coach, and you can be one in the formal sense where you have clients, or you can be a mom who's trying to get their teenage girls to not cut weight in a way that is so unhealthy. Or you've got teenage boys that are like my house trying to make weight for their wrestling team. And in that, they need a leader. And you don't need to be the authority. You can push play on those little videos that really do help you improve that education without having you be the expert. Use me as the expert. And share once you buy the course, I don't care who you share it with. Again, every marketer says I'm crazy, but I really don't care. I want this spread. I think it is a tragedy for someone who, like Carol, who has breast cancer, the cancer story, or the gal, what was her name? Hold on. The one who wrote the other review. Deborah, who wrote in alpha-1 antitrypsin, who for 30 years, nobody talked to her about how to reverse the inflammation in her body. And it wasn't until somehow she landed on this channel that she read a book that changed her life. Well, good grief, spread that and do it in the most generous way that you can. And that's what I try to do, is lead by having a support group that is free for anybody who wants to show up. And it's 1 hour every week that I will do this as my accountability, because I do better when I lead a group, but also as a way to say, this is what I want you to do. If you want to learn how to do a group, come to Tampa and hang out with me on Tuesday mornings. Please don't spend the money to do that, actually. There's plenty of other ways you can learn how to run a support group with the resources on our channel. And if Michelle and I do a good job of these emails, hopefully you'll be able to find those resources over the next few months. All right, so the second person that checked in, so I checked in at the group, and then I had my Lindsay, our Chinese daughter, check in. She just said she's low carb, she's not quite keto, but she does great, and she's doing a good job at school, and it fits for her. But as we went around, and I had people check in saying, where are you at on this continuum? There were a couple other people that checked in with a history of not doing so well. And as they counted down to coming to this group, that was one of their key motivators was, I knew I was going to have to show up and look people in the eye to say, how are you doing? So suddenly it was easier for me to say, yes, the rules are on this channel, 20 carbohydrates or less. We don't play games with carbohydrates here. That's total carbohydrates. And they probably hadn't been counting that as hard or as critically as they should have been in the previous weeks. So as they checked in, I was so thankful to hear that the idea of coming to the group improved their accountability. There was another couple that came, and there was a great husband and wife. The husband's from Brazil and the wife is from the Midwest. So one of my people, the Midwestern love one another with sugar was all over her history. I think she said she used Caro syrup as a way to, I'm not sure if she put it on bread or maybe she put it on cereal, but my dad did both of those things. And as she said, I've really struggled with getting those blood sugars controlled. How do I do the next step? And the woman shared her story in a way that it really connected with so many of the patients I've taken care of. She'd been on she'd had high blood sugar for years. She'd been overweight with a very consistent body shape of high insulin, meaning she had skinny legs, but she had a nice round middle. And although she'd lost several dozen pounds of weight, she was concerned because she'd gotten off of the insulin. She actually started by reading Dr. Fung's book, but somehow ended up at the Dr. Boz Channel as well. And off of insulin, her sugars were still very high, like above 150. And as we talked about, what is it going to look like for her to reboot? In her case, I said, I need you to clean out that cupboard again. And I know in the Consistently Keto course and in the books, I really talk about this. I talk about how we drove to the family farm and we threw out all this food, which can sound difficult. It really can sound like something you can't do. But after she must have done that at some point, because she really did revamp her life, and her Brazilian husband was very disciplined and followed through and didn't return to some of those habits. But she had limited her eating time to a few hours in the day, but was still putting calories in early at night or early in the morning in the way of cream in her coffee, and was really struggling to say, well, I try not to snack at night, but if I do, it's very good keto things at night. And for her, let me show you what I had her reboot look like. Let's go here. So again, this is that Consistently Keto chart, which is like the whole working plan of what I do on my clinic is to have people follow this keto continuum and progress down through that. But you could see that she was somewhere, I think this is gonna go here. Yeah, there we go. She was somewhere around the 16:8 mark, where she had many hours throughout the day that she didn't eat. She did put calories in the morning. You can see over here that she still she kept her coffee filled with fat, and in her case that was cream. She loved it and she continued to do that. But she had never really advanced to a place where I needed her to clean up the morning drink, remove all the calories and sweeteners from that morning drink. That means no fat, no MCT, no butter. Now, if you're just starting the ketogenic diet, this isn't what your reboot looks like. Your reboot is instead the space that you're at. But as I had people check in this morning with their keto continuum and said, where are you at in the journey? What does your reboot look like? I used their history to search for where are they at on this keto continuum, and then back up to the one where they can absolutely hold stable. So as she is good at 16:8, but has not been keeping the calories in a 4-hour window, it's really an 8-hour window. I asked her to step into advanced keto continuum number 6 and say, the first thing you need to do is master getting those calories out of your morning. Her sugars are still very high, and there are some things that we can do to help her. But the danger of her not doing that, of keeping those blood sugars that high, of not really cleaning up the keto to the next level for her, is that her husband will be taking care of someone who is not have the ability to record memory. That dementia is type 3 diabetes, and with that high of blood sugars, she's headed in the wrong direction. So I really do pray that she shows up every week at that free support group, because that is a fixable process if she has a good coach. All the coaching in the world still can't get her to the right level. We must stabilize her journey. And then she doesn't know this, and I don't know if she's watching tonight, but we'll clean up the foods that she's eating, like really stick with. In another case that checked in, I have her journey was had a lot of different options, and I told her to do what I did in August, which is I need you to eat only sardines for the next week and show up next week and tell me how this is going. Now, the other lady didn't have as many high blood sugars, but she was on her keto journey and she was floundering. She has a lot of people telling her what to do, and she really wanted that anti-inflammatory process. She wanted that brain to work better, and she's stalled in her weight loss. She does have a good 50 plus pounds to lose, maybe closer to 80 pounds to lose. And unlike the gal who's married to the Brazilian and has high blood sugars, I need her to pick this layer on the KetoContinuum, number 6, and stay there for 7 consecutive days where she absolutely has no calories in her drink, that she can plot out using that workbook how many hours really where did you keep the calories to. And the first calorie of the day and the last calorie of the day are something you'll never hear me talk about when you first enter the ketogenic journey. But as we look at the reboots for somebody on the journey, I find where they're at on this chart, and then I back them up to the one that I think that they can hold for 7 days. Nothing else gets to be advanced. No other rules get to be set in. I need them to succeed at this step for 7 days. The final woman that I wanted to share about was the one who she has tried so hard. She has taken the brains course, and she has taken the consistently keto course, and she is showing up to my first live. So you can tell she is very motivated to find the best version of her health. And her advice that I gave to her at the end of her explanation of struggles was, I need you to eat only only sardines for the next week. Because of several things, of food allergies and some things that have really plagued her in the past, and really her system has struggled. But many people really do have that same parallel process where they're listening to advice from 15 different advisors, trying to blend them all together. And what happens is that there's so much noise of advice that they can't find solid rhythm of their own. And so as this woman who is desperate to figure out her own health, she is very motivated to really finding the healthiest journey ahead. My advice for her reboot was, okay, you said you like sardines. She said she likes sardines. I'm like, perfect. I want you to do only sardines. I don't care if you have 10 cans in one day. The only food I want you eating for the next week was sardines. And the reason that was my advice for her reboot for 2022 is that her struggle was the noise of so much advice that she couldn't find a rhythm in the way she was eating. And much like the gal with the Caro syrup from the Midwest, a lifetime of struggling with food and being overweight has led them to really depend on that almost mismatched energy that they get from the sugar that had come in. So now that they are cleaning up their diet and they've been on the ketogenic journey and they're definitely eating keto, but I would contend that their ketones don't reflect that. And in fact, the gal that we put on, that I advised to just eat sardines, her major complaint was, Doc, how is it that my ketones only hit 0.7? I just can't seem to get them higher than that, which is a true reflection of the way I started out this show, which is if you're not measuring your ketones, you're not on the ketogenic diet. And you don't have to pay for the things to prick your finger, although if you do, I highly recommend using the 4 Care system. But you can pee on a ketone stick and really prove that you're in ketosis. And what you will find is if you are consistently in ketosis, that as your body adapts to your new way of eating, if you want to advance your metabolism, you need to advance your eating process. And that's where she was stuck. She had advice and she was eating keto and she was following the rules. But for her success to get those ketones to go above 0.7, which is officially in ketosis, but it is not going to get her the weight loss she wants. It is not going to get her that reversed inflammation that she's seeking for. I think she was one that also struggled with blood pressure. So we're not going to get her blood pressure to a normal level and get her off of her medications if she can't push her metabolism. And the key moment of pushing her metabolism is going to be take away all that noise, eat one item for a week, and let me pick the most ketogenic, healthy food that you can and have only one flavor of, and that is sardines. And I told her to put salt on the sardines. So, all right. So those are my 3 examples of just people that are rebooting. First of all, it was me. My reboot for the year was to make sure I showed up at this meeting, to leading my meeting, showing up to my meeting. And I was very graciously met by the ones who did attend. And then there was the mirror that they said, I started doing better when I knew I was coming to the meeting. So that accountability is a really important part of that reboot for somebody who says, I'm falling off the wagon. I just can't seem to stay consistent. Well, show up at a meeting. And yes, Zoom is an option, but my preference and where I see the biggest impact is when they carve out the time to be in person for the relationships that come with that meeting, as well as just prioritizing that it's not just clicking on the Zoom, leaving your camera off, being in your jammies, but you're truly putting the effort towards saying, I really want to figure this out. And that's not forever, but it's in the season where you're trying to reset those habits. And that means bringing them to a forefront, putting them on higher on that priority list. The second thing was the gal whose blood sugars is too high. Is I took a history of her and found where she's at on that keto continuum. We picked a layer of the keto continuum that she's on, and I need her to consistently do the step that she can do predictably, that she can succeed at, that as she's trying to reach for a higher level of her metabolism, I need her to find that rhythm at the one she can succeed at. And then praise God for her husband, who is being super supportive of getting her to the right next step. Finally was the gal who is officially in ketosis, but wants her metabolism to be higher. And for her, I cleaned up, or I gave her advice that the reboot that she will succeed with the best, in my opinion, is to get a complete void of other foods. Pick one food, and I got to pick sardines for her as the way she does the next week. And we'll learn next week how they're doing. Okay, so those are the biggest steps that I had outlined for how do you reboot on the ketogenic diet. If you're watching this on replay, I am going to put a end screen. Sorry, I could not find the word. End screen on the end of this for the video that gives you to the beginner's list for groceries. So that will also be a place that if you are saying, I need to reboot and my cupboard has been filled with all these things that don't belong there, let me just remind you what should be in your cupboard, and that'll be on the end screens. All right, let's get to your questions. And I am going to do that by going over here. Oh, here we go. And let's see here. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so January 4th is where our questions are today. That is today. And again, these questions are coming from the ones that you're typing in the chat there. I've got a nice, very dependable team on the backside looking at how do we take the hold on here, make it a little bit smaller. There you go. How do we take the questions from that chat and really use them on a live show? And this is how we're doing that. So they've copied and pasted and put them here for me. So Chris K writes in and says something about her energy is low, not necessarily having a craving, but Oh, is it better? I was the one who copied and pasted this, and it looks like I might have cut off part of her sentence. This was one of the ones from last week, or from actually 3 weeks ago now, where she says, I had low energy. Is it better to eat, drink BHB when I'm having low energy during my fast, or should I use Sole water? And if you don't know what that is, that's Redmond's salt crystals, like the big rocks of salt in distilled water, and that the water is filled, it's like salted water with really rich minerals, salt. Anyway, it's called Sole water, electrolytes, or bone broth. So, Chris, when people are fasting and they have this low energy, the answer to that question has changed for me over the years. I have learned that if you're following the consistently keto journey, my advice is to do a fast when they are keto adapted. So before when patients were sometimes choosing to fast and they were not keto adapted, the electrolytes were such a big deal during the fast. So I'm going to assume that you control your electrolytes and you are keto adapted because you've been doing this a while. So reaching to a fast, and on the Dr. Boz show, we do not use the word fast until you get to 36 hours. So that's, again, outlined in the books, but on the reason I use that is I really want to push your metabolism. So you can use time-restricted eating, but if you're on my show, we call it a fast when they are 36 hours. So she says, why do I have a low energy on my fasts? And when I have that, is it better to drink BHB or Sole water? So before I really cleared up those definitions of fasting is 36 hours or more, and I do not encourage people to fast prior to that being keto adapted. Before that is when I was telling them, you've got to get the salt in, you've got to get the salt in, you got to get the salt in. So I'm going to assume that you have replaced the salt adequately. And as patients are really pushing their metabolism, I think of the two women today that were at the group, and they're going to be asked to fast in the next few weeks as they continue to stimulate their metabolism. And neither of them has done this very well. But as I know there will be times where their energy gap is low. And I have learned, especially those people with insulin resistance, when you add BHB, when you add those ketone salts as just a small amount, like in this glass, you see how much, like that amount in their fast, you cannot believe how well their body responds by delivering the ketones that I want their body to get better at using during the fast. It just seems to be the best launch forward to getting them to the next fast, to really doing and not really getting stuck by saying, when I fast, I feel terrible. So when they add those ketones in their circulation during the fast, it delivers what I want their body to practice using. And that's why I've kind of changed the tone of, yes, electrolytes are important, but I assume you're doing a good job of that when you're fasting. I assume that you're keto adapted. And to take a keto adapted patient and get them to the next level, they need to practice using ketones during the fast. And part of that is restricting the calories enough that your body delivers the ketones when you need them. So that is where I've done less of the bone broth. I use plenty of bone broth in my keto recipes and my keto life, but during a fast, I try not to have anything except salt water. And if I struggle, I add BHB. I do not add the salts because I'm adding salt all the time anyway. Annette wrote in, and this was before the holidays, but I wanted to answer it because I thought it was such a good question. Is club soda an acceptable drink? She's trying to avoid alcohol. Good job. But being social at parties. So yeah, I actually had to go look up the label on this, and so I couldn't answer it live. I'm like, I don't know, does club soda have any carbs? And the club sodas that I looked at have no carbohydrates in them. They are, again, one of my favorite things is that there's bubbles in my water. So it's a nice bubbly drink, and you can, that is very good. So start there. And then if there is alcohol that you add, keeping in mind that does stop your body from producing ketones, it halts that. But the distilled alcohol is the most ketogenic option. That's been answered a few times, so hopefully that was good. All right, so this Karen's question is from tonight. So now we're actually at the live questions. Thanks for letting me answer those other two. When practicing keto continuum of 72 hours fasting, how much or what should you eat to stop the hair loss? Okay, so hair loss on the ketogenic diet is something that does happen when I spent a lot of time going through this the first 2 years that I was on YouTube, and I think I did like 6 videos on hair loss and the ketogenic diet. What I like people to know is the hair loss isn't forever. When patients are struggling with the follicle hair being very thin, and if it's rooted in the inflammatory bed of a hair follicle, you'll see more hair fall out. It's in their brush, it's in their hands, than what they make. But it is why I get really adamant about saying, don't play around. If you want to play around on the ketogenic journey, do it on somebody else's channel. What I'm trying to get people to do is really stay the course. So if you don't like the hair loss, the most important part is you need to go keto and stay keto. So in somebody who is cycling through a 72-hour fast, which is a really advanced part of the ketogenic journey, I'm going to guess that it's not her first 5 weeks of keto. If you're in the first 5 weeks of keto and you're already doing a 72-hour fast, either you might have rushed through a few things. And the reason we push off fasting in this algorithm of that keto continuum is I want your growth hormone to be ready to surge. Growth hormone is one of the fat-based hormones that stimulate your body to do some of the amazing, miraculous, healing, age-reversing processes. And growth hormone is very linked to hair growth. If you start the ketogenic journey and 5 weeks later you're doing a 72-hour fast, the chances that you've replenished those fat-based hormones is like 0. If you've purchased the course, go to the very last video, the one that's an hour long, where I compare the difference between what happens on a 72-hour fast versus what happens on somebody who's insulin resistant who fasted for 5 weeks. And it's terrible. Their bodies could not respond. They could not produce the growth hormone. They could not produce norepinephrine. They fasted for 5 weeks, and all they did was push the stress in their bodies, and they did not get the autophagy. They did not get the reversal of their age. They lost weight, yes, but they lost it at such an expense that their systems, it's going to take them longer to heal. Which brings me back to when people are on a 72-hour fast, I really do expect you to have gone through that protocol of when you read Any Way You Can and you realize my mom was 9 months into her ketogenic journey before she did a 72-hour fast or a longer fast. And her fast was mandated by life or death at that point. So she fasted for 40 days. But in those 40 days of fasting, because she had consistently been keto, and before that she was a walking zombie. She couldn't produce growth hormone. She didn't have any norepinephrine. I mean, she literally wanted to die because she was so unhealthy. 9 months of keto allowed her body to get all of these fat-based hormones really healthy and ready, that when we needed her body to flex on its metabolism, she delivered. Period, stop. She delivered. Her body surged its metabolism and delivered on those fat-based hormones, and she survived something that I did not think was survivable. When people are losing their hair on the ketogenic journey, it means there's a phase where the hair falls out more than it grows. But if you're truly in that replenished, healthy phase where they've been losing weight, their ketone numbers are good, they're surging into a good number of autophagy during that 72-hour fast, then the hair growth is going to come back, and it's going to be on a hair follicle that is not inflamed, that the hair will be thicker and more nourished, which is what if it's a woman who, usually it's women who were writing in on this, that's what they go to their hairdresser to say, make it look thicker, please. But you can do that with a full body of growth hormone on your side. And a 72-hour fast should be flexing that. So if you're started the 72-hour cycle and you've done a couple of them and you're losing hair, then I need you to assess, is it transient and you can see little hairs growing in throughout the process? And if you don't want to look for that, then check your metabolism. Are you getting a really good are you getting a really good Dr. Boz ratio during that 72-hour fast? Are you feeling good during the 72-hour fast? Those are both measurements of how well your body is supported during that metabolic stress. And when they feel like crap and they totally don't know how to make their bodies feel better, and they're losing hair, it's because they've rushed through that 12-step process of truly getting a restorative endocrine-based system that's filled full of fat-based hormones that really does support their body's ability to fast. I know that was a long answer, but I get that question a lot, and thank you for writing it in, because I've wanted to come back to that answer and do a video about it, but we haven't done that one yet. All right, so let's move on to Peter C. Hi, Dr. Boz from England. Thank you. Lost 100 pounds doing keto for 1.5 years. Then stopped after a kidney stone surgery, and the weight came back on. Weight went back on. How can I do keto without getting kidney stones again? Okay, so I hope 100 pounds didn't come back on, but if it did, it's not the first time we've heard that. So 100-pound weight gain is definitely not. I hope that's not what happened. But to say, how do you do keto without having a kidney stone? Again, I did write a chapter about this in my first book, Any Way You Can. And I think that the video that I did on this, if you type in Dr. Boz and kidney stones, there's a YouTube video that is pretty good on here. And really, essentially what's happening with a kidney stone is it's a crystal that's growing. And it usually grows along the side of one of the ducts that collects urine in the kidney. And as long as that crystal just stays cemented to the wall, you never know about it. When you go keto, when you change the chemistry of the body, it does change the chemistry of your urine, and you will start to reverse those crystals. You'll start to melt them. The chemistry is pulling them down the spectrum of reversing that crystallization. But depending on how big they are, it might take time. And then there's a bit of luck involved, because if the part of the kidney stone that starts to dissolve first is the neck, or the part that has it adhesed to the side of that collecting duct within the kidney, then the stone falls off. It rolls down the ureter, and it hurts like something terrible. And in that process, the kidney stone then needs to be either extracted, or you have to live through it till you pass it. So if you have a bunch of kidney stones in there, and the doctor says, well, let me go in and blast them with ultrasound and get them to all go away, sure, that will get most of them loose, but I don't give patients a clean bill of confidence to say that you're never going to have a kidney stone again. The crystallization happened because of an inflammatory process that promotes the crystallization of stones. Once they're there, we got to melt them away, or we have to blast them out. I prefer to melt them away because it's slower, it's less invasive on your system. It does run the risk that you might end up with another kidney stone, but I don't think you should throw out the option of a ketogenic journey because, that kidney stone might break off again. A state of ketosis is the fastest way to reverse those kidney stones, and the only way that I know of metabolically to reverse them, which is to change the chemistry set inside that human body. Oh my goodness, it is the top of the hour. I did not notice the time went by so fast. So I'm going to check my numbers as I look at the one last question, and then I will, in past weeks, I've tried to give away some of the audiobooks, but I would love to hear if you like the question and answers that are at the end. I think they do provide a true value, and I would love to hear if you did get the email, if you think that our emails that Michelle and I are writing are valuable. So if you do get them, please respond and let us know. We did not hire a marketing team. It really is us writing those emails, and we are trying to find a way to serve you in a way that that's valuable, that helps you on your ketogenic journey, that helps you to connect to the resources that are truly good for your system. So my ketone stayed about the same, 1.4 or 1.5 is about the same, but my blood sugar did do a lot better. So up in the 90s before I started, and now down to 74. again, my goal is to fast through tomorrow morning and probably tomorrow afternoon. I have some writing to do, and I know that my brain works a lot better if I'm fasted and if I stay as clean in my keto journey as I ask you to. All right, so we are the Dr. Boz Channel, and we are reversing your health problems one ketone at a time. Our goal here is to really help you reverse medical problems with healthy keto living. So tune in next Tuesday. We'll have another sequence of the best ways to reboot. We have a series coming through over the next few weeks that we're going to try to help you launch in the way that we try to relaunch and cover the things we think are the most valuable. So thank you again, and check out that end screen for the video on the grocery list that you can buy as a beginner. So